Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to tonight's live investor agent training webinar. Also welcome to any of the folks who've been through the rental profits program, the rental problems program, which is about management, and also the flipping for profits program. Wholesaling has officially been edited and published. I'm not sure when I'm going to roll that out. I know a lot of you have been asking for it. Matter of fact, we had people asking for it yesterday. What I'd like to do is I want to kick off the year first, so guys. I want to use January to get you guys off on the right track, and maybe February we can roll out the wholesaling program for those of you who want to participate in that. But at least initially, I want to get you guys off and running on the right track. So welcome aboard to whether you've been through the flipping program, rental program, or property management program, or of course the investor agent program, which is most of you. That's been the primary focus the last couple of years. But the tide is turning. That things are shifting. Obviously, we're in a shifting economy, and more of you are asking for how do you actually grow and develop your own portfolios? So that's why we have these other programs. And a lot of you are in areas where we're still working with wholesalers. I mean, I used to wholesale too. So that's why that program was developed last year. So we finally got it edited and published. And also welcome aboard to all the new folks. A little bit of housekeeping. This is live. We are now recording. And if you have questions, if you could please use your question box to type them in. I'll review the question box periodically throughout the hour. I'll pause in strategic places to take breaks and look for questions and keep up with everybody. From time to time, I might unmute one or more of you to have a verbal conversation that everybody can hear. Depends on the subject matter, and if you really want to do it, it's okay with me. So I'm going to reduce the attendee panel, so I won't be able to see all of your names right away for the moment. But more importantly, I'll be able to see your questions. So let's see here. David's, we emailed the homework. Yeah, what I'll do, David, is in the recap, I type up a recap for Beverly, and she'll send that out with the what I'm going to show you guys tonight, and also you get the actual recording of the webinar. So you can download it, save it on your hard drive, and replay it as many times as you want. Actually, what most people do, David, is they make a copy of it, either a DVD copy, or there's an application you can get for free to strip off the audio and make an MP3 out of it. There's also an app you can get on your phone. You can watch this on your phone too. I actually have it on my phone. It works great. So if you're waiting for somebody like at a doctor's office or something, you don't have to sit around filling through those magazines. Just bring up your phone and you can do stuff like this. So any case, let's see here. Greg says, I'll be with you 30 minutes tonight. My daughter's birthday is tomorrow. Going out to, oh, cool, Greg. Hey, Greg, I definitely want to get in touch with you, though, just to see how you're doing. I'm coming back to Virginia in late spring, early summer. I'll be back in Virginia Beach, the whole Tidewater area, so I want to hook up with you. Wanda is, hey, January 8th. Hey, that's, so Wanda, on January 8th, I'm going to see Willie Nelson in concert. So happy birthday to you, too. So any case, let's see here. Let's see, David Evans, okay. Don't you mean dropping off an investor packet at a doctor's office? Yes, that's exactly what I mean, David. Good response there. Okay, so let's get started here, guys. First things first. This is the first year I've done this in this fashion. We've been at this now for 2.5 years, and as many of you know, I have other things that I'm involved in, and I have a couple of coaches that I've had for a couple of years, and one of the things I learned to do a long time ago is go through a sort of a retreat at the beginning of every year, and it really helps me get very clear and very focused on who I am, where I am, where I see myself in the future, and how I intend to get there. And as ironic as this may sound, I realize it's not all about me. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm basically observing the world and getting in the flow of what the world offers me. Okay, so keep that in mind as I go through this. This is going to be kind of new for some of you. Some of you, I've already helped some of you do this. I don't think Jim's on the webinar here tonight, but he's the latest student. I've walked through this process. It's a year-long process for any of you who guys have a stronger interest in this. Just let me know. Call me, email me, text me, what have you, and we can talk about this offline. But I'm going to give you the basics tonight to help you guys get started, help everybody get off on the right foot. Okay, a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. You can probably already see here some things you're thinking, well, what's this about? So let's go ahead and dig into it. Okay, first things first. It doesn't matter to me how young you are, um, how old you are, where you come from, what your background is, what language you speak, or any of that kind of stuff. That's all valuable information for us personally, and I'm always interested in that, just like we all should be. But when I'm talking about a personal assessment here, what I'm doing is I'm going deeper, okay? And what I mean by that is you need to ask yourself questions, and when you start asking yourself really good questions, you start getting really good answers, okay? So the bottom line here is, in order to achieve the results you want to achieve, it's actually an inside job. It's not, I want you to focus here for a second. We're working in the world. We have to operate people and externally, people in our lives, circumstances in our lives, time, place, all that kind of stuff. That's all well and good. But in order to achieve the results you really want to achieve, you've got to start on the inside. So that's where we're going to start. So I want you to write this down. I'm going to send this to you in an email, but I want you to write it down, because there's a certain sequence of events that happens internally inside your brain when you engage yourself in multiple ways, like seeing, hearing, and writing. Okay, it's gonna make more of an impact if you write this stuff down. So I want you to write down these questions: who am I, and how am I? And the way you go about this, and the way you get really good results from this exercise, is to literally get away. And I know this is going to be a challenge for everybody here who's thinking, how can I possibly get away? I'm so busy. I'm telling you, if you take a day and do this, it'll buy you many, many more days of success throughout the year, okay? The returns are virtually astronomical. And I can prove to you over the last 14 years since I've been doing this, the results are phenomenal, startling to me. First year I did this, I was like, holy smokes, this stuff really works. So what you're going to do is just imagine yourself sitting by a lake in a beach chair, if you want, or a camping chair, all by yourself. And I mean no computer, no cell phone, nothing to distract you, and also no people around you. Write this question down, and it may take you an hour to come up with the first answer, or the first line, or even the first word. But stick with it. Block out the entire day from sun up to sundown and just start writing. And as soon as your pen or pencil hits that paper, you're going to get into what's called a flow, and stuff will start coming out. And you might have a pause every now and then. It's just natural that you can get distracted, okay? But you're going to answer that question, who am I? All right? And I'm talking about, start writing things like, what do you appreciate? What do you like? What do you not like? And that's superficial based on what's going to happen next, because you're going to then start asking the questions, what makes you laugh, what makes you cry, okay? These are all things that are designed to show you who you are. What do you get upset about? What do you get excited about? Think of all those critical emotions. What makes you happy? What makes you sad? How do you react in heightened states of emotion? Like when something happens to you, how do you act when you're angry? How do you act when you're happy? All right, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, okay? And don't worry, this is not any kind of a psychoanalysis or anything like that at all. This is a self-analysis, okay? A personal assessment. You should start writing about your relationships with your closest people in your lives, your children, your parents, your brother, sister, your spouses, those who are absolutely closest, and yes, that could even be a close friend, okay? And really write critically about your role in that relationship, all those relationships. This is going to take you some time, okay? And I promise you, after about the first 45 minutes to an hour, this is true for almost everybody, you just start getting into a zone, and all of a sudden you lose track of what time it is, and next thing you know, 4 hours has gone by, okay? So the who am I and the how am I, that's what that's designed to do, all right? Now, if you've got enough energy left, and I hope that you do, you should start answering these questions. How do I want to see my life when I look back upon it? and how do I want others to see me? So some people call this the rocking chair test, and this is where things start to get a little bit emotional for a lot of people. I want you to imagine yourself, you're 99 years old, you're sitting in a rocking chair on your front porch, okay, and you start looking back and reflecting on your life. And for any of those of you who've been around long enough, I consider myself young, even though I'm 54. I still consider myself young. But what happens is you start to reflect on things in your life. Stuff pops up out of the blue. I know it's like Doris. I know you've probably experienced it. Some of you probably experienced it. Some people call them flashbacks. They're just memory recalls. Everything you've ever experienced in your life is logged in your memory banks. Every single thought, every word, every action you took. You might not think they're all there, but believe me, they're there, and they will pop up just out of the blue. Sometimes unusual times you're wondering, what's this popping up for? That's going to start to happen when you start to get into what I call the second part of your life. Okay, I want you to look ahead, call it projecting, and just imagine yourself in that chair and start looking back and write down, using your imagination, how do you want to reflect on your life? What do you want to see? What do you want to? How would you like to see that unfold? What do you want to? If you were telling the story to a great grandchild sitting on your lap, what story would you tell them? Okay, that's the introspective part. The next part is, how do you want others to see you? And obviously there should be some correlation there. All right. So far right now, I'm sure some of you guys are thinking, wow, this is really exciting. This is the kind of stuff I've been needing. And I haven't even gotten to touch just barely the tip of the iceberg here. And some of you are probably wondering, how does this fit in with real estate investing and using your license to work with investors? Just hang in there, okay? Part B of tonight is going to bring you back full circle, and you'll understand how all this fits in and how all this plays together, okay? So, in any case, this is part one. Question one usually will take you about a day, okay? Maybe it's a half a day, just all depends. I mean, you get better at it as each year you do this, okay? The second part of that day is you should start to write down, okay, what kind of goals does this person have? This person that you see yourself as, okay? You're going to literally be kind of, levitating and looking at yourself from a third-person perspective. It's a really awesome experience when you do it. And you're going to ask yourself, okay, now I see myself the way I want to be. What types of goals does that person have? And you just start doing a brain dump. Write down, okay, well, this person has 4 children and 12 grandchildren. This person has created a foundation to serve others who are needy in life. This person has accumulated 10,000 rental units, so they have enough passive income to support a foundation, support their family, and send all their grandkids to college. You write down goal after goal after goal. Don't worry about how big, how small, or what comes first, second, or third. There's no order here. It's simply a brain dump. You're just writing this out as they come to you. And again, it'll start off slow. It'll pick up steam as you go along, okay? So keep doing that. This is part 2, okay? Now, when I first did this, steps 1, step 2, and step 3 took 3 days, okay? Step 1 I did all on day 1. Step 2 I did on day 2. Step 3 I did on day 3. And it does help, by the way, if you can do this in 3 consecutive days. So if you break it up on, let's say you do 3 Sundays in a row or 3 Saturdays, it will work for you. It's not gonna come as easily to you, okay? Any case, you might be thinking right now, how the heck am I gonna get 3 days? Well, what I want to tell you is you don't have to do all this right now. Plot out 3 days in June if you want, or July when your kids are off school, if that's the case, okay? But the bottom line is, give yourself this opportunity, because I can tell you from personal first-hand experience and the experience of a lot of others, it will dramatically position you to take full advantage of this precious gift of life we've been given. And if your thing is prospering financially, then that's what's going to happen for you, okay? If your thing is having the most loving relationships that anybody in the world could possibly imagine, well, that's what's going to happen for you. It could be everything. In fact, I will tell you, this is not a or world. It is an and world, okay? It's not an or world, it's an and world. And you can have everything that you want as long as you've understand how you fit in, what your who you are as a person, what your goals are. And there's even a layer deeper now. I won't get into that tonight. We'll save that for another time. But in any case, back to this. What type of goals does that person have? This is a brain dump, okay? Now, the third step is this. Now you know what kind of person you see yourself as, or you want to see yourself as. And this is, and if you're not that person right now, don't worry about it. You're going to act as if, okay? You write down the goals, part 2. Part 3 is this. What types of actions must occur for these goals to be achieved? Okay? What types of actions must occur for these goals to be achieved? This is another brain dump exercise. So just hang in there. And remember, when you're writing down the actions, I don't want you to be so concerned right now about what actions have to occur first, second, or third, or which one's going to take a long time, which one's going to occur in a few moments. You're not quantifying these at all or qualifying them. You're just simply writing them down, okay? And what's going to happen when you start writing down actions, you might be thinking, well, I only have a short list here initially. You're not writing a whole lot. I can tell you what will happen is this is a repeat process. So throughout the day, you keep going back over and over your list of actions. Bring a lot of paper with you, by the way, because as you go over them and you review them, repetition is the mother of success here. You're going to keep going to deeper and deeper layers, okay? And you'll start to extrapolate additional and more finite levels of detail in the actions that need to be taken. And at some point, some order will start to present itself. In other words, you start to realize you can start to order some of this. I don't want you to get too hung up on that at this point. It's just going to happen naturally, okay? Throughout the year, the order will present itself as you start to plot out your year, your quarter, your month, your week, your day, your hour, so forth and so on. Okay, I'll talk about that in step 4 here. But for step 3, just remember, you're going to start writing down action steps, actual steps that you take, things that you actually engage in, okay? In any case, let me do a quick pause here and check for questions. Some of you have probably been through something like this before. Let's see, this is David. So David's asking, okay, sounds a little bit like Rick Warren, Purpose-Driven Life. It's not about you. Yeah, actually, I read his book. I actually went to his church. He also has a book called The Purpose-Driven Church. It's out on the West Coast, sort of near Santa Barbara. Is where the church is. So, any case, yeah, this is not based on that. This is actually, and I'll just tell you how this came about. It's a culmination of things. A number of people I've met, people like Rick Warren, for example. Let's see, John Maxwell, and there's a couple other people. But in any case, also if you think back to Stephen Covey, remember the old 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Some of this came from all that. But basically this is a culmination. And I developed this on my own about 14 years ago, and I've been using it ever since. And I've coached people through this over the last, say, 4 years. It's not a lot of people, but a few dozen people have asked for it because they know that I'm doing. They tell me, hey, Gary, I know you're doing something. What is it you're doing? How are you able to achieve so much and still look like you're having fun and you're happy and you're having a great life and you got free time to go to the beach and go exploring and discovering? Well, it's because of this. This is why. So Faisal, hey Faisal, yeah, I'm going to. I created this myself. I'm going to send this to you in the recording of the webinar. You'll get this tomorrow. So in any case, back to this number 4. Right. So now you've kind of taken a self-assessment, not just of who you are and where you are, but how you want to see yourself. Okay. You've written down some goals that this type of person has. And this person has. You've written down some action steps that this person has to take, okay? Now, the next step is this, and this is where you're going to have to get some type of a planner, and everybody always asks, well, which one should I get? Well, it's the one that you'll use, and there's a number of them out there. I happen to use the Franklin Daily Planner. I've been using it for 26, 27, 28 years now. I love it. It works like a charm. It's in writing, so if it gets wet, it still works. The battery never dies because there's no battery. And I use it in conjunction with my smartphone. But for the most part, all the meat and potatoes is in my daily planner. In fact, in the back, I keep all of my goals and all of my actions, and I keep my self-assessment. Okay, that's in the back. I review it every single day. All right. Now, here's how you plan. All right, and this is, remember, high-level view. It's just I would literally need 3 days with you to go through all this in detail. What I'm doing tonight is giving you the what and the how, enough for you to get started. And for those of you who are excited about this, just let me know, and I'll get you to the next step. But back to this, time to plan. Whatever planner you use, as long as it's the one you actually will use, that's the one that works. Okay. So for me personally, I go through a multi-step process. All right. In this process, I go through every day, every week, every month, and every year. So I start off with the year. I look ahead at the year, and I take the goals. I look at these goals, and what I do is I basically order them, not in order of what I think has to happen first, second, and third, but in order that I think that I'm being called to serve. So if I believe I'm being called to serve people in the world of investing, I'm gonna teach investing classes, for example. Okay, so I would put that goal for the year as a primary goal. All right. The bottom line is through, I'll get to this in a minute, through prayer and meditation, I ask those questions and of myself and of God, and I look for the answers. I go into meditation and get quiet and listen for the answers. And I determine of all those goals, which ones do I feel I'm being called to pursue first? And they're almost all in service to others. That's one of the most amazing things in all this is I realize there's greater fulfillment when you serve others. That's why I love teaching this program, because you guys are serving investors who are looking to build wealth and income in their lives, and it's a valuable part of their life, and it's a valuable part of your life because you're earning money doing it. It buys you freedom, buys you time, and maybe allows you to create your own foundation, for example, if that's what you choose to do. So back to the planning. I go through my goals and in a state of prayer meditation, and identify the ones that I need to be focusing on, and I try to keep it to about 3. Definitely at least 1, and usually no more than, say, 5. But I've discovered over the last several years that 3 is about the magic number. Sometimes you may only accomplish 1. You might set out to do 3 and you only get 1 done. Well, that's okay. 1 is better than none, and 1 is better than what you had the year before. All right. So in any case, plot it out for the year. And then what I do is I look at the year and figure out, roughly speaking, where that falls in the year. Is this one I can accomplish in the next 3 months? Then I'll put that there, 3 months. Is this one I can accomplish and it'll take me the entire year? Well, I'll make sure that has the entire year space taken up on my daily planner. Okay, so I'll put that out accordingly. And then what I do is I start to break it down. So I'll look, now what I do is I work backwards. So let's say I want to accomplish a goal by this coming December 2017. I think it's going to take 12 months to accomplish it. I'll put it out there, and I'll start looking back. Okay, well, if the big goal is, I've determined it's going to be for December 2017, what minor goals that are part of this larger goal need to occur? What has to happen? Like if the end goal is, let's just keep it simple because we all have a couple things in common. One of them is we'd all love to have, a lot of wealth and income. So I asked myself, well, if I want to increase my net worth to $100 million, and I put that in December, what has to happen before I can achieve that goal of $100 million? What other goals do I have to achieve to be able to accomplish that? And I work my way backwards and plot those out. Okay, and 2 things could occur. Number 1 is I realize, number 1, that goal is very doable within a year, or number 2, nope, it's very undoable and it's going to need 2 or 3 years. Okay, that's how I determine that. But let's say I believe it can be accomplished in a year. I'll start to work backwards and plot in November, October, September, August, July, what has to occur in each previous month to get to the next month's goal. Okay, I do that throughout the year. So now I've got things loosely plotted throughout the year. All right, now what I do is I go into my actions database. And these are, by the way, I put goals in a database, I put my actions in a database. I go to my actions and I find the actions that are related to those goals, and I start to plot out on a weekly basis for the next month, for example, what actions do I need to take to achieve that goal for that month. And at this point, the actions are more high level, sort of like on a weekly basis. So I'll translate this for you. So let's say, and matter of fact, I'm going to go into this in a part 2 a little more detail. Let's say you decided you want to have your first workshop by February 5th, 2017. Okay? I know right now you should be planning to do that. So for those of you who are planning on doing a workshop in the next 30 days, this is going to help you a lot. What you should be doing in that first week is pull up your contact management system and go through it and rank everybody in there 1 to 10, 1 being least likely to invest, 10 being least likely to, or most likely to invest, excuse me. And what I'll do is in a 7-day week, or let's just say it's 6 days because I like to take a day off on Sundays, is I know there's 26 letters in the alphabet, so I'll take about 4 letters, 4 to 5 letters per day, A, B, C, D, E, okay? And I'll go through my database for all those last names beginning with A, B, C, D, or E, and I'll go through and ask those questions. How do I know that person? What do I know about them? Where did I meet them? And do I think they're least likely to invest or most likely to invest? So that's an example of something I would do in my first week. I'd break it down to the week, and I realize, okay, each day I've got to accomplish something, and those actions start to unfold and present themselves. Now I've got a meaningful, effective plan for the week, and then each day, and by the way, I do that every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. I go through and revamp this. I look back over the prior week, figure out what I was not able to do and how I plan on accounting for that in the following week without jeopardizing my overall goal for the month, okay? Sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. It's just the way life is. I don't get upset about it. I just recognize it for what it is, and I adjust, improvise, adapt accordingly, okay? So in any case, the next thing I do is that's weekly, so next thing I do is on a daily basis. Before I go to bed, I'll review the day, make some adjustments, mark off what I've done, check it off. It feels good to do a check mark, okay? And fine-tune my plans for the next day. I'll say, oh boy, I did this and this and this. Now I've got to do 3 more things tomorrow that I didn't plan on, and I'll plot those in, and I'll adjust my plan accordingly for the next day. And then when I wake up in the morning, I'll do a quick review just to make sure everything is kosher, and I'll head off my day, all right? So the other thing, too, about planning, guys, is what this does, this allows you to start at the end and work your way backwards, and then you start working your way forwards to execute. Much, much better way to go through planning and goal setting. What a lot of people do is they start at the beginning and try to move forward. But if you don't have a clear picture of the end in mind, you really don't know where you're going. You know the old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Well, that's just ludicrous. You need to determine, based on these steps up here, 1, 2, and 3, where you're going and how you plan on getting there, and then work your way backwards. And that's how you find out if you've got a realistic goals or not. I mean, they're all realistic. It's just the timing that could be unrealistic or not. So in any case, allows you to adjust your time frames is what I'm getting at here. Work it backwards, work it forwards. Great way to set goals and plan, all right? So now I've got I'm down to my daily plan. Here's what I do to kick off the day, guys, okay? This is you're getting in, now I'm opening up the heart of Gary Wilson too, and you're gonna see what I do every single day. I wake up at 5 in the morning, okay, every single day. And I start off with exercise and prayer, physical exercise, my physical body, and pray. And after I pray, and I'm always, of course, asking for guidance for other people in my life and circumstances. I pray for every single class that I teach every single day, and I pray for all of you. I pray for all my students every single day. And I ask for guidance, okay? Then I go into what's called meditation, which is a state of silence. And I don't want you to if any of this sounds foreign to you, all meditation is another form of prayer. It's actually part of prayer, and if you're a praying person, there's an old saying which is, Silence is God's only voice. So praying, the first part is more active, participating. You're participating actively. You're asking for guidance and blessings on others and circumstances. The second part is you quiet your mind and you have to listen. Okay. Now the interesting thing here is this doesn't necessarily mean listen in you know, humanistic terms. It's not like you're listening for somebody to speak to you, although sometimes that does happen to people. But what will happen is you'll find yourself becoming aware, we call them awakenings or awarenesses, of, you know, certain facts, information, ideas, thoughts, people you should call, people you can go to for help. That all comes to meditation. Sometimes it's the realizations that you need to have a change in course, a change in direction. That actually it happens to a lot of people, and it's happened to me too. But this is where you're getting the responses, okay? And there's a whole, this is an entire subject, guys. Meditation, literally, I mean, I've studied it for years, and I'm still trying to master it, okay? But the bottom line is, I don't start my day until I exercise, pray, and meditate, and I go through some affirmations. I do that every single day. When I come out of meditation, I go through a couple different exercises, okay? Oh, you're welcome, David. First one is called forgiveness, and I'm going to kind of mush ahead here because I want to get into part two. We'll talk about these later for those of you who want. I'll do a special session if you want. But what I want you to do is write this down. Write down forgiveness and ask yourself, what do you understand about forgiveness? What do you know about it? Okay? And there's a whole deep subject revolving around this. And I will tell you this, to give you a big hint. You'll know you've got forgiveness when you can be a forgiving person. In other words, it doesn't matter what happens, any circumstance, any person you might feel wronged or slighted or cheated or whatever. It does matter in practical terms. I'm not saying it doesn't, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't define you. Okay, it doesn't control you. And you're able to forgive people or circumstances. So every morning I go through this exercise where I write down, you know, please, dear God, please forgive me for. Maybe I'm forgiving myself for something. Maybe I've, I wouldn't have been on my best behavior. Maybe I'm forgiving other people and them and my involvement in the circumstances. Okay, and then I, basically ask God to transform that into His love and light. And you go through that on a daily basis. Over time, what you'll find is you're going to be a much happier person. What this does, guys, so you understand in practical terms, is this frees up a lot of valuable emotional and mental energy in yourself. And when you free up all that valuable mental and emotional energy, it allows you to be more creative. I don't mean imaginative, but I mean co-creative, creating wealth and income, creating loving, lasting relationships. You've got to master forgiveness to free up all that wonderful energy you have for good, to do good works, okay, to be positive and to positively influence other people. I'll see if I can find some information on forgiveness and send it to you guys, right? Next thing I do is called a gratitude exercise. And I literally start writing, it's like I'm writing a letter to God. Thank you, God, for David. Thank you, God, for Hans. Thank you, God, for Faisal. Thank you, God, for Gregory. I go through all of this, okay? By the way, is Natasha on here? Hope Natasha, you're on here. Thank you, God, for Natasha. And in circumstances, the blessings I've received. And what's interesting here, I'll give you another big hint. You'll know you've got gratitude when you find yourself being genuinely grateful, even for the things that you used to see as being negative or bad, like a divorce, for example, or a loss of a loved one suddenly in a car accident, okay? Now, what's interesting is some of you might be thinking, how could I possibly be grateful for that? Well, the reason is and again, there's a lot more behind this. You always learn, when you understand gratitude, you always realize, wow, one door shut, but because I have an open heart and mind, and I'm aware, okay, I'm seeing these other possibilities now that I didn't see before, all right? I'm grateful for the person I had in my life for 47 years, okay? I might not have them for another 47, but boy, I'm sure glad I had them for the prior 47, okay? For those who've gone through divorce, you probably realize it might have taken you a couple of years that you found a better partner for you and have a much more loving relationship, okay? Maybe you lost a property, an investment deal, or a property was taken from you in a court case or foreclosure, what have you, and it really tore you up at the time, but you realize years later, because of that, you're in a position to pick up another much better property, or that property ended up being a real problem, and you got out of it just in time. So in any case, those are just kind of real simple examples. I mean, there's a lot more to this, but I can tell you this. Do that every single day. Take 5 minutes, write a letter to God, being grateful for all that you do have, good and bad. And I promise you, over time, you will realize how blessed you really are. And when you get to this level here, most people start to realize they're living in abundance, okay? The 7th step. When you get gratitude, you realize, I mean, everybody here on this call tonight is living in a state of abundance. You're probably comfortably in a home somewhere, all right? You're probably on your computer, possibly on your phone, in a home that's heated. You probably just had supper. You might have small children running around wondering if they can get your attention right now and want you to read to them before they go to bed, okay? That's a pretty darn good life, guys. And when you recognize all that, and even though you might have a child who gets sick, okay, it makes you appreciate the times when the child is healthy, okay? So in any case, just remember that. I want to kind of cut things off here and go into the next part, but I wanted to get you through at least this part tonight. And for the next week, go through this, okay? Go through this stuff here as best you can. Get to the point where you're doing your forgiveness exercise every morning, your gratitude exercise every morning, okay? And if you have your goals, if you've done your self-assessment, you have your goals, you've identified actions, and if you got your basic plan in place, you're doing good. Now the reality is you're not going to get a list done in a week. I just want you to start it, okay? And likely we'll be having this conversation over the next 4 weeks to really get you firmly situated here, okay, and launch for the year. The bottom line is we're going to start now because we are not fooling around. Last year we had excellent results from a lot of students, but I want excellent results from every single student. And last year was a profound improvement over 2015 as far as students taking action and getting results. And we realized some valuable things, and this is one of the things we realized is I didn't go over this in 2015. I didn't go over it in 2016, but on an individual basis, I did a lot of this stuff with people over the phone and one-on-one calls. And the results speak volumes. So in any case, you can see the rest of this here. Vision, when you get to this point, a lot of you will have a clearer vision, not just of what you want and where you want to go, but where you are right now. Your vision in other people too, for example, your relationships. You'll feel more worthy, okay? You'll understand what it means to surrender. This doesn't mean give up or give in. What it means is, you know what, whether you've got some negative circumstances currently right now or you've got big goals and dreams, put them out there to the world and surrender them, give them up to God, okay? And have faith and take action. Have faith that the right people will show up at the right time telling you the right things, okay? And you've got to do your part. You've got to take action. And if you can read plenty of stories about this stuff, I like to refer to Bible stories myself personally, but there are plenty of examples in the Old Testament where people were facing seemingly unsurmountable circumstances, but they had faith and they took action and God delivered, okay? As a result of that, you'll find out that you're receiving much more than you ever thought you were before. And there's a real challenge here, by the way. A lot of us struggle with receiving. We get real good at the giving part, but we always refuse. We don't want to receive anything. And I'm telling you, receiving is a critical piece of abundance, okay? It's a cycle of giving and receiving. And if all you did was give, and you didn't receive, it's like a light switch. If you turn that light switch off, you stop the flow of electricity, Okay, with abundance, you got to have a light switch on at all times in both directions so that you can give and receive. And the more you receive, the more you can give. And the more you give, the more you receive. It's just an amazing cycle of abundance. A lot more to that. You know, I'll look for feedback from you guys. You've all got my phone number and my email. If you want to learn more about this, just let me know. I'll be glad to share with you small groups or one-on-one, however you want to do it. But for right now, let me jump into the oh, there's Natasha. Hey, Natasha. Good to see you. Let me jump into the next part. I'm going to kind of come back to current day experience that we're having right now. For most of you, this is going to be the Investor Agent Training Program. Okay, some of you are doing other training programs, flipping, property management, buying rentals, what have you. But for right now, little bit of a repeat here. Okay, I want you to think in terms of you and I working together through whatever training program you're in. What is it that you want? And get real clear. I mean, pinpoint, accurate. Not I want $1 million. I mean, that, by the way, $1 million is not going to do it. Okay, in today's world, if you want to really be financially independent, you're going to need about 10 million. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're in Dayton, Ohio, or the Bronx, New York. So write down what you want and go out 12 months. I don't care when you started the programs. Once you're in, you're in. I mean, there's people on the call tonight that have been in for 2 years. Okay, so don't worry about time you're in. I want you to write down, or when you came in, excuse me, I want you to write down what do you want in the next year from whatever program you're in. Most of you are in the Investor Agent Training Program. And be real clear. So write down, for example, I want 110 transactions. I want 48 new clients. I want an average commission of $9,000, whatever that is. And you can even get, for the year, write down, I want, you know, $365,000 in gross income. Don't just write down one thing, write down multiple things and get real crystal clear, real precise. I want 6 of my own rental properties. I want to flip 3 houses. Think of your own investing and think of the use of your license and write those things down. And then I want you to write down, what is your big why? Why do you want those 6 rental properties? Why do you want those 3 flips? Why do you want 48 new clients? And initially you're going to say, well, because I want the money. And I get it, and you know, we're all cut from the same cloth here. So, but there's a bigger reason behind why you want the money. What is it you want to do with the money? And what will help here, guys, is think about little children. If you've ever had little children, or if you've got grandchildren or nieces and nephews, if you notice, when they start asking questions, they don't stop. They're going to ask you, why this? You know, why does the train, when the train goes down the tracks, why did all the bars go down and the cars stop? You know, and you're going to get the answer. And they're going to say, well, why? And you're looking at them, you're like, well, I just told you why. And you got to give them further explanation. What they're asking is, why do we even have trains to begin with? Why do we have cars on the roads? That's what children are thinking, and that's what I want you guys to think. That's how I want you to think. Just bear with me. You might wonder, you might be laughing right now, but I promise you, you start thinking in terms of why, in those terms, you're going to get to your big why, okay? I'll give you a real big why for a lot of you. I mean, at least it was for me in the beginning, is I wanted my personal freedom, okay? I thought I wanted the money, and I did. You know, I have a healthy respect for money. I'm a pretty good custodian of it. I had to learn the hard way to be a good custodian. But what I really wanted was my personal freedom. And I bought it when I was 40 years old. I bought my own freedom, okay? Because I got real crystal clear on what I wanted. It was a big enough reason that it absolutely drove me. I mean, it was just a burning desire, a passion. Literally, I was driven to accomplish it. And then I realized why I wanted my freedom is because, you know, I was put on this earth to serve others. I was put on this earth to minister, okay? And I wasn't able to do that because I foolishly went to college, got a degree in something I had no business getting a degree in, and got stuck in the corporate world for a bunch of years chasing money, all right? and I wasn't happy. It wasn't fulfilled. Fulfillment comes from you being in alignment with what really drives you, Pat. What makes you laugh, what makes you cry, what gets you up in the morning and drives you forward to take action. When you're in alignment with your calling, fulfillment is a foregone conclusion. So, in any case, I want you to get to your big why. Sorry to get on that point and beat that horse so much, but it's critical, because the thing is, I want you to share with me what your big why is, because when you do, I'm going to now have a pretty good idea what drives you. So when you call me up for strategy calls, even if we may not talk about your big why every single time, but we'll always be able to come back to it, and that's the critical thing. I want you and I to always be able to tie back your actions straight back through your goals to your big why, okay? So those critical steps, right? Next big thing is, we're going to get down to brass tacks here, guys. I don't want you all to send me your databases, because those are your databases and my computer would blow up. But here's what I want you to do. You've got to get real serious about creating and maintaining your contact management system, okay? Because right now I'm assuming if you want freedom, personal freedom, by way of earning enough income to do that and building enough wealth, you've got the tool. You've now got some knowledge and information and some skills. You've got to start applying it. And the very first step is thinking about the nature of your relationship, your business, which is it's a relationship business. In the world of real estate, it doesn't matter if you're buying rentals or you're serving other investors, you're going to be working with other people. It's a human relations business. And as such, we've got to accept it for what it is, we've got to address it for what it is, and we've got to approach it in the best way possible. And the best way possible is keep a database of all those people, all your contact information, name, phone number, email address, physical address, and including notes on your relationship. How did you meet them? Where did you meet them? What did you find out about them? Do you think they're likely to invest or not likely to invest? And by the way, rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not likely to invest, 10 being most likely to invest, okay? This is I definitely want you guys to accomplish this. I'm going to be conservative here, and I'm going to tell you I want you to do this in the next 2 weeks. I want you to do this by January the 19th, okay? January 19th, go through your contact management system. You don't have, I use Top Producer. I also use Infusionsoft. Top Producer is a great tool for realtors. You can also use, if you're Keller Williams, you've got a system called eEdge, okay? That comes free for your being an agent there. Most brokers have something like that. Even if it's just a simple Excel spreadsheet, my gosh, create it, okay? You can probably find them online for free. And go in there and make sure it's clean, and make sure you have good notes on everybody. And the people that you don't have any information on, you don't have a clue who they are, get rid of them, okay? There's no sense in you trying to market to them if you don't even know who they are. But focus on the people that have some degree of probability of generating some business for you, either through referrals or directly, okay? So go through that process. And by the way, this should be a daily occurrence. Every day you write down the people that you met that day, whether you already knew them or not. It's immaterial. They may or may not be in your database, okay? Some of you I can see on the call now, we've actually gone through this before. And I'm sure you saw, like when most people that do this realize this is where the gold is. We call it 3 feet from gold. All the gold you want is 3 feet from around you, all right? Okay, the next thing is this. I want you to determine what your niche is. Now, the good news is many of you already have your niches, because we've had one-on-ones. I know what your niches are. You know, some of you have doctors, some of you have policemen, but you need to really clearly identify and define your niche. Okay, this is something else I want you to do in the next 2 weeks. Identify your niche. And next week we'll touch base on this stuff. We're going to bring up some examples next week, okay, and really drive up the adrenaline factor and the inspiration factor by bringing in real examples from real people just like you, okay? So determine your niche. Could be nurses, could be chiropractors, could be teachers, could be carpenters, could be plumbers, could be auto mechanics, could be auto dealers, could be ministers. We've had a niche group form around ministers. In fact, we've had 6 ministers take the training program. we've even had dentists take the training program. Whatever it is, definitely define your niche. Remember, guys, the riches are in the niches. The riches are in the niches. You've got to, when it comes to investors, you've got to separate yourself, put on a different hat, and not think in terms of what you do with owner occupants. Those techniques work with owner occupants. They don't work with investors. With investors, it's a different ball game, different set of rules, different strategy, much easier to master and much easier to profit from, okay? So define your niche. And then I want you to, after that, determine what if you haven't done a campaign yet, what is your first campaign? If you've already done a couple campaigns, if you're still mastering it, let's just stick with that. But if you're ready for the next one, determine what your next campaign is. Could be putting on a classroom scenario. Some of you last year, we helped you develop your first classroom scenario. I got a feeling some of you are ready for that now, because I know a lot of you have done workshops. And the next step beyond a workshop is a classroom. So write down that after your niche, write down what your first, or in some cases your next campaign is, okay? And we're going to stop there, all right? Because we've done a lot tonight. In fact, let me bring my question panel back over here and see if we have, let's see, we got questions. We do. Okay, this is, let's see, we go back here. That was Fassel, that was David. Thanks for the prayers. You're welcome, David. Fassel, okay. What meditation do you use? How often do you do this? So, Fassel, I do this every single morning, and then sometimes, like if I'm on vacation, some people think I'm always on vacation. What I do is I enjoy it so much, I don't really call it work. It's just every day I live this life. So in any case, if I'm really not teaching classes, say up for a couple of days and I'm out in Arizona where I'm not near family and I'm staying there for the weekend, I will actually meditate a couple times a day. Sometimes I'll meditate for hours on end. But the bottom line is, Fassel, I do this every single morning without fail. Every single morning. It is important to me as food and water and breathing air. It's that important. I didn't used to see it that way. I grew into it. It evolved that way, and now it is absolutely that important. And again, for some of you who know me personally, like Fassel does, and you've wondered, well, how is it do you accomplish so much, Gary? How do you do everything? How have you achieved so much? This is why. This is it. There's no secret formula. This is exactly what it is, okay? So every single day, let's see, Gregory says, Gary, what happens if we forget to count our blessing? All we think of is the wrong things that happen in our life. I pray every morning before the sun comes up. It is a blessing. I tell you what, Gregory, yeah, that's one of the things I'm grateful for every day is it's like the sun comes up. It's like witnessing the original creation all over again. It's like God's given you a replay of the original creation every single day. It's like God's creation, recreation every single day. So if you find yourself really getting down, like you find yourself dwelling on what's going wrong in your life, use that as a trigger, Greg. So do this to yourself. Write this. Actually, I write this down. Whenever you find yourself caught up in what Zig Ziglar used to call the stinking thinking, the negative thinking, write this down. Use that as a trigger to come up with one positive thought. For every negative thought, challenge yourself to come up with one positive thought. It could be related, could be unrelated, doesn't matter. The point is, the exercise is to condition your mind. You're training yourself to control your mind, by the way, is what you're doing, to think positively in any circumstance. And the way you do that is practice and repetition. So if I get in a fender bender, which recently happened, the other person probably thought she didn't know what to think, because I got out there and I was more concerned about her and my behavior. She said, I don't understand. Most people would be really upset by this. I said, you know what? It happened. We can't undo it. All we can do is move forward and take action to move forward from this. So let's just do that. I think she was kind of freaked out by it all. But in any case, what I would do, Greg, is I would challenge yourself and make a commitment to come up with a positive thought for every single negative thought, okay? And you start doing that, what happens is you'll find yourself being a much more positive, happy person. Stuff's still going to happen. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is where, life is going to unfold, okay? But it doesn't have to define you and make you an angry person or a hateful person or a happy person. Those are all choices. You choose to be happy. You choose to be happy. You choose to be sad, you choose to be angry, okay? But you don't have to let the circumstances determine what you choose. You can choose to be happy in spite of what happens during the day, all right? And that comes about Greg, through repetition of challenging yourself, committing to coming up with one positive thought for every negative one. So good question. Let's see here. This is Natasha. I'm here. Oh, hi, Natasha. All right. Funny. This is David. So David says, funny. I have my 2-year-old son watching trains on YouTube during the webinar to keep him occupied. It's not working as he is crawling all over me and waiting for attention. I love kids, man. Okay, Fassel says, how often do you write in this document? Every day, weekly, monthly, etc.? Fassel, actually every single day. And what happens is you develop a habit, and you start to get in the routine where you can it's you master it, you get better at it. It doesn't have to take up a lot of time, because once you got it built and you start maintaining it, yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, even hourly sometimes. I mean, I keep my daily planner with me constantly at all times. All right. So maintaining it is just part of my day. I don't actually carve out time to maintain it. It's just part of my day. As soon as I get in my car after a class, I check a few things off. I check my voicemails, I check my text messages, and I'm off and running. And I'll check those things off. So, but that document, absolutely, if you're talking about your CMS, every single day. So here's a real good trick on your CMS, guys. Don't wait till the end of the day to update your CMS. I mean, on your computer, yes, you have to do that. But throughout the day, let's say you go into a grocery store and you run into an old neighbor. When you get out to your car, write down the neighbor's name and write down the date and grocery store, where you met them. And then when you get home at night, check and see if they're on your database. And a lot of times you'll be surprised at how often they're not on your database. All right. So add them to your database. All right. And if you met a brand new person, you should always ask for the card. If they don't have a card, they say, no problem, no problem. I'm going to pull out my phone. Let me get your cell phone, or maybe let me get your email address. And then you can add them to your contact managers and tell them what you're going to do. Say, look, I think you might be interested in what's happening with investment properties in the area. Don't say, hey, I'd like to be your realtor and help you buy investment properties. That's selling. What you want to do is you want to serve. So you suggest, you say, look, you might be interested in what's happening in foreclosures in our area, or flipping. People are flipping homes. I'll send you some information you can read and see if you're interested in something like that. That's called serving. And that's how you get a relationship built. So Fassel, I do that. So during the day, I write down the people I came across. And then at home at night on my computer, I go and check my database. If they're in there, I just update it. If they're not in there, I add them from scratch. And all of that takes literally maybe 60 seconds per person. So I might spend a whopping 5 minutes on that at the end of the day. Excellent question, Ed. Okay, let's see here. So David Evans says, similar to Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Yeah, that is. Hey, by the way, guys, David's mentioning in one of the key books that every successful entrepreneur and business owner I've ever met has read. I know people that have original hardback covers. And actually, I met Napoleon Hill's grandson, J.B. Hill. I met him back in 2009. And I also met, what was his name? Green. Don Green is the chairman of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I met him too. And we had some really nice conversation. They showed me some original signed versions of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's really cool stuff. I highly recommend everybody read that book. If you read, matter of fact, if you read only one book the rest of your life other than the Bible, read this, okay? And by the way, real quick, I want to mention something here. I've actually studied the Gita, the Quran, the Torah, even Buddhism to a certain degree, and certainly the Christian Bible. A lot of what I learned, I've found in all of those writings. They're in all of them. They're just different verses, but they're all the same message. Okay, so anybody can take this and use it. It doesn't. Nobody's trying to convert anybody here, So in any case, let's move on here. Purposeful thinking. Yep, absolutely. Let's see here. David, let's see. I'm reading Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil right now. It's pretty crazy stuff if you are ready for the country. You know what? I read that too, David. And Sharon Lecter, I actually got to meet her a couple times, in fact. She wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women. She was part of that book, by the way. and she actually wrote most of what Robert Kiyosaki books are. She wrote most of that stuff. In any case, really good stuff, guys. I hope you guys like this tonight. I really wanted to do this more as a gift because a lot of you kind of go into the execution mode, but you really don't have a solid foundation built yet. And what I want to do is build a foundation with you first, so when you go forward, you'll be operating from the point of who you are as a person and not just what you do, okay? Because success comes from being true to yourself, knowing who you are, and coming from service, coming from love, okay? And not just executing because it's on a list or on a plan, right? So in any case, I hope this helps you. Please give me some feedback. If anybody's interested in some of my writings on this subject, I've written a lot. I generally don't publish this kind of stuff, but I do share it with people who ask for it, okay? Because it's helped me tremendously. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. I'm going to check for questions one more time before we wrap up. Yeah, who wrote? Yeah, Miracle Morning. So is that Wanda? Hang on one second. Yeah, Wanda. Hey, Wanda. Actually, I know him too. In fact, he's in my mastermind group. Hal Elrod is in a group called Go Bunnis, which I'm in, and I'm going to be seeing him in a couple of weeks up in Whistler, Canada. Real neat guy. He's gone through a lot of life-altering changes like I have, some of them brought about by major events like car accidents and things like that. But awesome book, yeah. In fact, a lot of what he wrote about is what I've been doing for the last 14 years, okay? Okay, let's see here. Natasha says, I love it. Need to know how you meditate, please. So, Natasha, let's do a strategy call. And I'll tell you what I do. It took me years to be able to have any feel like I was really doing it correctly, but what I found out is it's a lifelong journey. You never, I don't know anybody would ever say, hey, I got it completely figured out. If you did, you'd be completely enlightened and you'd be 100% in the spiritual world, okay? But I can tell you the steps that I go through. In fact, I'll do that in a group session if you guys want to. Really cool stuff. It helps a lot. Okay, now off to Mission Impossible, finding 3 days to plan. That's good, David. Hey, don't worry, David, do what you can do, okay, with who you are and what you have and who you know and the time you have available to you. Just do it in chunks, brother. Just chunk it down and let me know how I can help. And Ray Higgins, man, it was especially good to have you because you're probably, you and Greg are the two senior most veterans in the group tonight, going back to the original launch of this 2 years ago. Pretty amazing. I'm so glad you guys are involved, and I appreciate your help and your insight and your input. So if you guys have a wonderful week, and I hope this helps you kick off 2017 to succeed, achieve, and prosper. And also, I hope you find peace in your lives too, peace and prosperity. And I look forward to serving you the whole way through this year and forever. Okay, God bless, and I will see you next week. Oh, by the way, next week is going to be on the 11th, Wednesday night. So we'll see you next Wednesday, guys. Take care and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.